Merch shop is open! And I have Patreon with tiers and stuff if you wish to support me.
Video time, enjoy!
Chwingas. I actually didn't know about this until I finished the Silvery Barbs video. Daniel uses twingas in his games. These little guys.
But Kobold, they're CR0 creatures!
Don't judge a book by its cover. Welcome to Pack Tactics. We can get Chwingas through Conjure minor elementals. The source I'm using is from Tabletop Builds and is written by Hayne, who also writes for Form of Dread. I highly recommend reading his stuff, and if you like this video, I want you to go to the article and put down a comment thanking Hayne for his work. Conjure minor elementals, 4th level spell, 1 minute cast time, 90 foot range, 1 hour. You summon elementals that appear in an unoccupied space that you can see within range. You choose one of the following options for what appears. You care about the 8 elementals of challenge rating 1/4 or lower. An elemental summoned by this spell disappears when it drops to 0 hit points or when the spell ends. The summoned creatures are friendly to you and your companions. Roll initiative for the summoned creatures as a group, which has its own turns. They obey any verbal commands that you issue to them. No action required by you. If you don't issue any commands to them, they defend themselves from hostile creatures, but otherwise take no actions. The DM has the creature statistics, upcast, summons, more. You can read it yourself. Straight out, this isn't a good spell at all. Normally I wouldn't cover this. Majority of the creatures here are bad. It's not like Conjure Animals where tons of them are good or okay options, but it's got Chwingas, so that's a huge standout. The player picks the creature, but the Sage Advice Compendium says the design intent for options like these is that the spellcaster chooses one of them, and then the DM decides what creatures appear that fit the chosen option. This is an annoying game design intent for no reason. That's why I didn't bring this up in the basic guide to Conjure Animals. It's straight up horrible design, and really shouldn't be discussed. If we apply this to other spells like Polymorph, it would be dumb. No one plays like that. Also, it's just quicker to let the players pick instead of having the DM pick. Not only does it take extra time, but the DM might actually pick the wrong creatures, which will disappoint the player. Is disappointing the player good game design? No. Keep in mind, if we go straight rules as intended, Revivify and many other spells just wouldn't work at all. So I choose to ignore this rye because it's stupid and annoying for both the players and the DM. There is a unique case here though I found quite funny, which is the only reason why I bring this up really. You can actually force summon Chwingas with the rules as intended anyways. The creature you summon must fit in an unoccupied space within range, thus choosing 8 creatures when casting the spell. You can limit your options to only Chwingas by conjuring your summons in a location where only tiny creatures can fit. This works because there's no other tiny elementals of that CR, just Chwingas. The only counter to this is the DM banning them, but then we're not working with the rules as intended to begin with, so you know. Now, this spell summons 8 Chwingas. Their passive perception is 17, so nothing's gonna surprise them. They also have innate spellcasting of Pass Without Trace. This is what, the 4th time I'm covering this spell? A flat plus 10 bonus to stealth for everyone. 67% of creatures in all of the books combined have less than 14 passive perception. With a 0 modifier, you have an 85% chance of succeeding the check. With disadvantage, like that paladin in full plate, it's 72% chance. The Chwingas, even without the spell, has a +7 to stealth too, so they're incredible. Now for the best part, and really why you should summon them. Magical gifts. The Chwinga targets a humanoid it can see within 5 feet of it. The target gains a supernatural charm of the DM's choice. See Chapter 7 of the Dungeon Master Guide for more information on supernatural charms. These charms are incredible, and you get 8 of them. Let's read what they are. A charm is a minor supernatural gift which can be received in many ways. Some charms can be used only once, and others can be used a specific number of times before vanishing. If a charm lets you cast a spell, you are able to do so without spending a spell slot or providing any components, verbal, somatic, or material. Oh, you hear that, guys? You can't counterspell these charms, just like scrolls. In any case, a charm can't be used in the area created by an anti-magic field or similar effect, and the charm's effects are susceptible to dispel magic and the like, but the charm itself can't be removed from a creature by anything short of a divine intervention or the wish spell. Now let's read all the charms you can get from the DMG. By the way, there's more than 50 different charms in this game that are hidden away in other books. I won't cover them all. You can look for them yourself if you wish, but chances are very high that DM will just use the DMG anyways. Charm of Animal Conjuring allows you to cast Conjure animals of 3rd level as an action. Once used 3 times, the charm goes away. Conjure animals is one of the best 3rd level spells in the game. If you need a guide to how to use them quickly, I made one already. I highly recommend casting animals. It's one of my favorite spells of all time. This is the best charm in the DMG in my opinion. Charm of Dark Vision. Cast Dark Vision spell as an action, no components required, and with 3 uses, and then the charm goes away. Situational. It's for the Vumans, really. This is the 2nd worst charm you can get, really. Dark Vision is 60-foot range. That lasts 8 hours, by the way. Charm of Feather Falling grants you the benefit of Ring of Feather Falling. These benefits last for 10 days and then it's gone. Let's read what the ring says. When you fall while wearing this ring, you descend 60 feet per round and take no damage from falling. Okay, so this charm is better than the ring itself because the ring requires attunement. Yes, this is situational, but again, I won't say no to it. Charm of Heroism gives you the benefit of a Potion of Heroism as an action. Once you do so, the charm vanishes. Potion of Heroism. Gain 10 temporary hit points that last an hour. For the same duration, you are under the effect of the Bless spell. No concentration required. Good. You know what Bless does. This is an hour long with no concentration, so I advocate you use this out of combat and going into fights. Entering into dungeons with this is a good idea. If you're combining this with Crossbow Expert and Sharpshooter, that's a huge DPR increase. Charm of Restoration, 6 charges. You can use an action to extend charges to cast one of the following spells. Greater Restoration, 4 charges, or Lesser Restoration, 2 charges. The charm vanishes after the charges are gone. It's useful but very situational, but it's nice to have at least 1 or 2 of these charms, but if you play well, chances are very high you'll never use it. I see myself using Featherfall charm more than this. Charm of the Slayer! 1 sword in your possession becomes a Dragon Slayer or a Giant Slayer of the DM's choice for the next 9 days. Charm vanishes after that, and the weapon returns to normal. Very bad. It only affects swords. If the martial doesn't have a +1 weapon, then it's of some value, at least. But also, why doesn't this martial have a magical weapon at this point? You are level 7 when you get Conjure Chwingas. Oh, sure, these weapons might be better at this specific creature, like a dragon or a giant, but you'll find the DPR increase isn't big to begin with. The dragon fight is a funny one. What if the dragon never lands? Why would the dragon land? Now, in practice, the dragon usually does land because the DM is nice, and don't want to point out how flawed melee weapons are, but realistically, the dragon is punished for landing. If I had to kill a pigeon for some reason, and had the choice between an enchanted magical sword or a BB gun made for kids, I would pick the BB gun because pigeons can fly. If I throw the sword, I have to go get it again. By the way, fun fact, pigeons don't exist in D&D. Charm of Vitality, benefit of a Potion of Vitality as an action, gone after use. This removes any exhaustion you're suffering and cures any disease or poison affecting you. For the next 24 hours, you regain maximum number of hit points for any hit die you spend. I think this is awesome. If you get many of them, there might be times where your party will be stressed on time, so this can help quite a bit to get rid of exhaustion. It can be a good tool to get the most out of your hit die too. That's everything from the DMG. Here are 2 more charms from other books that are actually the best charms you can get in the game. Well, there is a few more, but they're spoilers to a campaign really, so I won't touch them. Charm of 9 lives. When you drop to 0 hit points as a result of taking damage, you can choose to drop to 1 instead. Once used 9 times, the charm goes away. This is basically Death Ward stacking 9 times in 1 charm, but also just better. Incredibly strong. What more is there to say? Anyways, this charm comes from Tomb of Annihilation. Charm of the Traveler's Haven. This charm has 3 charges. As an action, you can extend one of the charges to cast Tiny Hut spell. No components required. Once all its charges are gone, the charm vanishes. Hain in the article explains my thoughts pretty well. Thanks to Rime of the Frost Maiden, we are able to replicate one of the most broken pieces of tech available to level 10 Chronology wizards. Casting Tiny Hut is an action, meaning we are able to make a barrier around our party that no enemy may pass through. Basically slap this down on the battlefield and shoot at the enemy with your ranged weapons until you win. This is a castle move. The enemy is forced to retreat unless they have Dispel Magic. Dispel Magic is the only way to remove this. Out of all of the charms, this is the strongest one in my opinion. That's pretty much the video. I covered 9 charms, that's plenty. There's some extras on Tabletop Builds article, including the spoiler charms, so if you're curious, you can read it yourself there or find the charms in published books. But I recommend giving Tabletop Builds the credit they deserve and put a comment there supporting them. Thank you. One more thing, I almost forgot this. Don't spring this on your DM. You tell him you're gonna use Chwingas if you're gonna use Chwingas. And just a reminder as well, the DM picks the charms, the player doesn't. Anyways, that's it. I hope I earned your subscription or support on Patreon. If you pay $20, you can play D&D with me once a month. Buy a t-shirt if you want, I don't know. Thank you for watching.
Bye-bye.